Good evening, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the RCMP's 2020-2023 Annual Policing Priorities Virtual Open House. My name is Nicole Chouinard, and I'm the manager of the RCMP Support and Victim Services with the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo, and I will be your host for this evening. Before we get started, I would like to humbly acknowledge that on the land we live, learn, work, and play is Treaty 8 territory, the traditional lands of the Cree, Dene, and the unceded territory of the Métis. Tonight is very exciting as we partner with the Wood Buffalo RCMP to announce and share the 2022-2023 policing priorities. In a few short moments, you will see the presentation of the priorities and a high-level summary of the outcome from the community survey that occurred this past winter. After the Q&A, we will open the Q&A session and request your policing questions. We will do our best this evening to answer all questions as possible. Questions that we aren't able to answer tonight will be provided in the coming weeks online at participate.rmwb.ca. Now, before we begin, there's just a few housekeeping items I'd like to share with all of you so at this time together can be informative as possible for all attendees. Here's what you need to know. This event is being recorded as an act of transparency and as a form of record keeping. It will be made available to the public once the meeting is concluded. If you know of someone who could not join us tonight, let them know this recording will be made available for them to view on participate.rmwb.ca. You'll notice that your audio devices have been muted for this evening. This is an intentional act so that the speaker can share information without interruption and so all participants can hear questions and answers without being spoken over. If you have questions throughout the evening and are joining us through Microsoft Teams app, please provide them through the Q&A. And if you're joining us via online browser, please text your questions to 780-381-5946. And that number again is 780-381-5946. We always prepare before these virtual events, but we do ask for your patience in the event we experience any technical difficulties. Disrespectful behavior will not be tolerated and it may result in your removal from this event. Now, let's chat about policing priorities. Here's tonight's presenter content is Wood Buffalo's officer in charge, Mark Hancock.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here again, same as last year, doing this for the second time, and it's a great way to reach the audience in the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo. So I'd like to go through a few things, but I'd like to really start off with talking about last year's annual performance plan and how do we do, because I think that's a big part of our transparency here. So the plan this year, we encompassed the information from the survey that we collected. We had a really good turnout for that, which I'll discuss. But the Wood Buffalo Detachment 2021-2022 annual performance plan just got put up on the screen there. So I can tell you that we had our objective number one was property crime, which you're going to find is going to be similar this year to our plan after talking to all stakeholders. But property crime, we wanted to reduce the number of property crime offenses by 5%. And if I'm looking at the statistics over the past few years with regards to property crime offenses within the whole regional municipality of Wood Buffalo, the numbers are pretty consistent over the last 3 years. A little bit of an increase this year. And we did have, as you know, we had a bit of a spike in break-and-enters downtown at one period that we ended up looking after, and then it was quite quiet after February. So I can touch more on that after, but that was successful in with our crime reduction unit, our dog section, our detachment, general investigation section, and gathering that information and targeting a few individuals that were causing that harm. So our property crime offenses were to be reduced by 5%, and we were fairly successful in that event with wanting to reduce from basically 6,043 complaints, all property complaints, to ended up being 6,101 property complaints that were that we received this last year from 2021 to 2022. We also want to conduct 4 crime reduction focused projects, and we actually conducted 7. So with my general investigation section, crime reduction unit, detachment, they had a bunch of different successful projects. And the second priority from last year was drugs. Not surprising, it's in just about every community. It's something the community wants us to deal with, and of course we will. So our drug section was quite busy, along with all of our members here. And Alberta Law Enforcement Response Team we're lucky enough to have here as well. But with the detachment itself, there were 232 drug charges this year. So it's not quite the target we wanted to reach, but it's still quite a success because there's a lot of drug trafficking charges there, not just possession. It's drug trafficking a lot, and a lot of products seized, some weapons, and dealing with some individuals that need to be dealt with. So that was positive. And then, of course, we had conduct drug awareness and educational presentations. And COVID kind of put a toll on that a little bit. We were able to do some things virtually, but I didn't get as many of those as I wanted to. And I'm looking forward to this year so that we can actually be more productive and face-to-face with these things. So our community policing section was quite successful in doing things virtually, and but we're looking forward to more in person this year. So the third priority was traffic safety and the objective, and it was to increase the number of impaired driving sanctions. So we wanted to go from 346 to 363 impaired driving compared to the year before, and we ended up getting 302 sanctions. That's including both the criminal code and the new IRS sanctions. So those numbers, they're quite good. I'd like to see more, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we do with that statistic this year. Training was also a little bit of an issue with COVID. We have several people that could use more training with regards to traffic incidents and breath testing equipment and that kind of thing. So we're going to be upping our training this year quite a bit. And then increasing the number of Traffic Safety Act charges. This is a big thing for the community. People want this, and we were very successful this year with over 10,306 Traffic Safety Act charges. So, and that's not photo radar or any of that stuff, that's members. So very productive in that area. Objective 4 was enhance public confidence and engagement, conducting town halls for connecting with the community. And we had 4 of those. We had a couple here in Fort McMurray, and we had a couple in Fort Chipewyan. And again, the COVID put a little bit of a slowdown on that, and we're looking forward to having more. This one here is another town hall, but I'm looking forward to having some in person going forward. And we have some other things planned coming up forward, including Ask a Cop with the youth and some other things. So stakeholder engagements, we're very strong in this area. We've got our new Sergeant Martina Noski in the Indigenous liaison position, and as well as all of my members and myself have been engaged with community members and talking to community members. So we've had 302 stakeholder engagements as of last year. And then objective 5 was employee and public wellness. So one thing that I said when I first came here in February a year ago is to establish our PAC team, which is our police and crisis team, and dealing with mental health. So you have an officer, a uniformed officer, and a public health nurse that go to these complaints together. And so I wanted to establish that last year and have some public engagement on that, and that is happening right now. So this week, actually, it started. So I'd like to talk more about that, but we named a constable here, Constable Dana Goslin, as the RCMP member that's going to be on our police side of the PAC team. And then we also have a couple of full-time nurses that are now lined up as well. And Madison Stanley is the one that I've met so far. So it's very exciting. I'm really looking forward to this, dealing with mental health in a different way, with a nurse that actually has mental health background and can check on their history and everything else. It was very exciting. So that is a success. It took the whole year to get it going with MOUs and everything else, but it's happening. And then we had, within the detachment, we had physical wellness challenges and mindfulness training. That has been very successful. We've had 53 different challenges and mindfulness sessions in the detachment. And morale is always a concern to me. And I think things are going about as well as they can right now. And we'll continue trying to make it a good place to work. So last year's plan, that's the basic overview. There's one other thing that I kind of promised when I first came here, and that was getting restorative justice going. And Nicole, who's the moderator here today, she's put a great deal of work into this, as well as Corporal Lacey Blair of our community policing section. And now the watch has been trained basically onto how to handle pre-charge referrals and to look at another alternative to court for people that it suits that system. So very excited about that. I think it's a community-based program. It's going to be community-led, and it's something that I wanted to see happen. I did it back in Newfoundland and Labrador, and now we're bringing it here. It was here before, but we're trying to expand it to from youth now to adult, and in some other communities like Fort Chipewyan's very interested, Fort McKay is very interested, and so these are things that we're working on. So that is the overview of how things went last year with our annual performance plan. We met most of our targets that we wanted to reach, and we've done a lot of other things outside of the plan. So I'm quite pleased with it. And then I don't know if we can now take a look at the survey from this year. So there it is. And if you look at that survey, this is the raw data that gets all input into this, and it shows basically myself and my team as to what did the community think was important. And last year, from 2021, 2022, we were able to have over 700 people take the survey. And this year, we've had almost 1,200 people take the survey. So 1,177 responses. And as you can see, the pink number is 736. So out of 1,177 people, 736 felt that the number one priority, again, was property crime and thefts. You can see it in the pink bar. So then the second priority is the green one. 525 respondents discussed the drug situation and that they'd like us to conduct more enforcement and deal with drugs, enforcement and education. So that came as number two priority from the community. And then the third one is in the purple, and that is impaired driving. And then if you look at, so 392 respondents on impaired driving. Then we've got a couple other close ones. The number 368 there, the green one on the right, is next to the drug one, is crime reduction strategies. And then in the middle in the blue is domestic violence, 354 respondents. And all of these are important, and we factor all of these into our decision making. So I was able to gather all of that information from the community. Thank you very much for participating. 1,177 people is exciting. That's that's showing that people are interested in what the police are doing in the community and how can we do better. I also read all the feedback of what people wrote in and shared that with my management team upstairs. Here it's myself and 3 inspectors. And then I called a detachment meeting in which we were able to have quite a lot of our officers and non-commissioned officers, about 25 members, sit down and go through the survey and discuss what we think were important priorities for coming up for this year. And we were able to put together a new plan and for 2022, 2023. And if you look at this plan, it's really not that much different from last year, because the community is basically looking for the same kind of thing this year. And that's quite common in communities. It might take a few years for priorities really in the community public perception as to what they need might change. So that's it with the survey. Again, I appreciate all the effort from everyone with that. And perhaps we can put up the 2022, 2023 annual performance plan now on the screen. And so again, it's pretty similar to last year. It's quite simple, but sometimes simple is good for objectives to reach. So again, number one objective is going to be property crime. And these do kind of go in the order of importance, but they're all important. So property crime, to reduce the number of property crime offenses by 5% again this year, and to conduct 8 crime reduction focused projects. And crime reduction focused projects can be anything from prolific offender management, warrant roundups if people are on warrants. It could be a hotspot area that we put extra patrols in there and follow up, intelligence led. We're always trying to be evidence based on our decision making. So we'll be doing those 8 crime reduction focused projects. And then the second objective is drugs again. So the initiatives would be to, again, increase the number of drug-related charges and conduct awareness and educational presentations. So this one is near and dear to my heart. We've got a new sergeant in drug section, Ryan Adlam. He's pretty engaged, and we just had a supervisor's workshop this week and the prior week where we had basically all of our supervisors in and all of our leaders, and had discussions about things. And he presented on drugs and how, that we're interested in having every member have a confidential source. Every member is looking for information on drugs when they're out there doing those traffic stops, doing the patrols, talking to people in the community, because we're only as good as the information we get from the community. So that is one that I'm looking forward to seeing the results in this year. And then the drug awareness and educational presentations as well is, we had the virtual going last year. This year, I'm expecting to see more members be able to get into the schools, including our community police section, including our drug section, and to give us some education on this. And I have a background in that as well. I set up a drug awareness program in Happy Valley Goose Bay in Labrador when there was first time it came out. And so lots of study on effects of drugs and what they do and street value, all kinds of, anyway, that is something that definitely is good education and prevention for younger students and kids. So we'll be looking at that. Objective 3, again, is traffic safety. So the people want impaired driving investigations and sanctions. And so that's what we'll do. We'll continue to up the numbers. I'm hoping to get more people breath tested this year for roadside screening devices. We always have young members coming here out of training, and as well as, the other traffic tools to stop vehicles like your radar, LiDAR for speeders to stop those vehicles. So we'll be looking at that, as well as the DRE program for drug impaired driving as well. So looking forward to that one. And then increasing the number of Traffic Safety Act charges. I think it's unbelievable the number of charges we had last year, and the traffic unit here. And so we will continue that. Traffic safety is always very important. And then objective number 4 is enhance public confidence and engagement. This is something that I think we worked really hard here in the last year with regards to building relationships. And I think we're in a good position right now that, if something is going wrong, people reach out to me or my team, and there's nothing that is hidden. I hope not. So, we're talking with the community, we have our stakeholders, and I want that transparency, and, people can reach out and talk to us anytime they need us. And as I've said before, in our Indigenous communities, we've got my whole team, and we've also got Sergeant Martina Noski, who's been very engaged everywhere from Fort Chipewyan down in Janvier. We're starting a youth cadet core group in Janvier because Janvier wanted to have more youth involvement with the police, and so this is very exciting, and this is just about to start, and we're hoping to expand that, but one thing at a time. So we've got conducting community town halls again, and we want to be open and transparent. I'm going to have some more of my management team get involved in doing some of these as well, not just me all the time, so that people can know their police, know their faces. That's important to me. And then stakeholder engagements. So again, getting out there with Indigenous communities, and we're looking to enhance all of our relationships. With the Muslim community, we have many different people speak different languages here, and we want to get engaged with as many as we can. and be as open and transparent as we can. So that's the start of the plan for this year. There are numbers involved in these. A lot of it is increase these things by 5%. So it's something that's manageable. And we may do way better than that, but that's the number that we've kind of chosen for quite a few of these. So I think that's a sort of a quick overview of where we are with last year's plan and results and the survey and this year's newly formulated plan.
Thank you, Mark. That was a great presentation and provided us with a great amount of detail in regards to what the RCMP have been doing here in Wood Buffalo. And hopefully for all of you, it provided you an understanding of how our priorities will support the region. And if you still need clarification, this is your opportunity. Can you please send your questions through our Q&A, which you should see on the top of your screen, or on Microsoft Teams app, or if you're watching via online browser, please text your question to 780-381-5946. And to start us off, Mark, there is a question that I do have, and I just wanted to talk to you about traffic safety. That's one of the things that we really seen in our survey. We have continuous issues with traffic on our street going well over the speed limits. Can you provide the community with some information on what actions are being taken for speeding issues in the neighborhoods?
Well, just as I mentioned about with last year's plan and going forward to this year's plan, traffic is a priority for us. So the community has spoken, they're making it a priority, so we are making it a priority. And, the number, 10,300 tickets that were issued last year is a lot of tickets. Even driving around the community, sometimes in my own vehicle or in my police vehicle, I do see some erratic driving. And this is something that's definitely on our radar. It's going to be a priority on our APP again this year, annual performance plan. And I think the fact as well about the survey is that we've reviewed some areas where people have complained about speeding in certain streets and areas. And so we've shared that with our traffic unit and with our members. And I'm hoping that, stakeholders will be seeing people out patrolling those areas. I certainly see lots of our members out. And I totally promote that. Self-generated work is, if you don't have paperwork to do in the office, get out and get on the road. And that's something that we're definitely into. And then, of course, we still got some of our other supplements like our photo radar and other things. We also have, us in bylaw that, go out and hit the school zones in the mornings and when school's getting out and trying to make sure that those areas are safe because those are high risk areas for us.
Thanks. And you touched based on the downtown break-in. So we're just going to move on to another question that we have. Do these policing priorities relate to all the communities within our region?
Well, they do. And so the annual performance plan is basically an overview of the entire RMWB. So, you could have more people maybe calling in or to the survey from Fort McMurray area, but we have one big plan for the whole area. And that's not to say that, and I've said this before, that we don't have, a policing issue in another community that we do something different. The plan is something that will be put on posters in the detachment. It'll be put on little business cards that we hand out to all the members so they know what the community thinks is important. But at the same time, we do have core policing that we do in other communities. And I think the whole situation that I was talking about with regards to John VA and their need for us with more youth interaction and, Sergeant Noski really getting involved with that and setting it up where we have a couple of constables that are working down there. They're going to be working with that community and setting up a cadet corps with, with marching and drill and right decisions and, kit, they'll have a uniform and, some of these things. So that's just one specific community issue. And, it could be a drug issue in another community, whatever, but we certainly, we have the big plan for the whole area, but we have the resources to deal with whatever situation comes up in whatever community. And we have members that go to those communities. So there's lots of other things we can do besides what's in the plan.
Great. And now we have another really great question in regards to cultural safety and awareness. Can you advise the community on what some of the training that is taken by the RCMP?
Well, there's all kinds of training that's put on by the RCMP and different types of training online that we have that comes from Ottawa. And There's Indigenous training, relations, and about the history as well. Sergeant Nosky's been working really hard in a lot of our communities and looking at individual training sessions for the culture and traditions of each particular community. So maybe it's a Métis community, maybe it's NA, maybe it's Cree. And then within the detachment, we've been to information sessions with the Muslim community. Nicole, you and I and a bunch of our management team just went to the dinner with Nassim Abdo there for the end of Ramadan, and with the Muslim community. We're totally engaged and open to this, and we're trying to get stakeholders and relationships with stakeholders by a bunch of our different officers and management team. So we're always reaching out, and we're trying to build those relationships. If even if we have new people coming into the community, influx of new people that don't understand what the RCMP does or compared to another country, information sessions, I'm totally up for any of that stuff. And I think that we want to be an approachable police force that people are comfortable talking to and know that we're fair and transparent. So all that is very important to me.
Great. And just on the topic of our rural, we've discussed that a little bit, Mark. Can you also provide us with some strategies that are being utilized for more presence in the rural regions?
I sure can. So, even when I was back here in 2015 as the operations inspector, before I left to St. Paul for 3.5 years in district and then came back here as the OIC as a superintendent, I've always prioritized that members work in their specific zones, and at the start of their shift, they get in their car and they go to those zones. And so, we have a South Patrol down at Conklin, John Vier, and we have our Fort Mackay Patrol. We have members in Fort Chipewyan, a detachment there, a sergeant detachment. And, my members have gone up to Fort Chipewyan for different presentations and things like that. And so has Victim Services as well, who's in our building. And 100% support of that. The people there are very good to us, and this is good. The other communities, the patrols are there, but we also are really looking at, we have places that the members can work out of in all these communities. Conklin has been good enough to give us a spot down there that we can utilize. John VA, we've got our own patrol cabin there and quarters there. I know that Fort McMurray First Nation, 468 First Nation, that they're working with us now and getting us a site there where members can work out of an office there. And I know that a couple of our members were there today going down and checking it out and get some pictures and some video of it, because obviously it has to go through our security process and everything, departmental security, but it's very exciting. Fort Mackay has a storefront. We've opened up the downtown storefront, and we're working on getting members working out of that office downtown. So reaching out to all these communities, we've got a vast area that we police, and it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week policing. So, the cars are coming and going. I want them staggered so that you have a presence in your community. And, I haven't had too many complaints about visibility since I got back here, so I'm pretty happy about that. But certainly, if you go to any meeting anywhere in Canada, and I've worked in 4 different provinces, visibility is a huge thing. People want to see the police, and it's important. So it's definitely one of my priorities, and it's something I'm always mindful of.
Thanks, Mark. We have another really great question. Oh, throw in an echo.
You don't sound bad. Keep going. It's good.
Okay, so we have another great question, and it's just some clarity on the wording in our plan that they're looking for. And I think this is a great opportunity for you to discuss the Restorative Justice program, also our drug courts that are coming into the municipality. Our community member would like to see wording more like reducing the numbers of judge-related charges or preventative measures. And how are we supporting to do those kinds of things, especially in our Indigenous communities, and providing more preventative measures instead of the sanctions such as jail?
We're definitely doing those things, and I love that question. We're always trying to do that. So, like I mentioned at the start of my presentation, when I first came here, I have a restorative justice background a little bit from working in Newfoundland and Labrador, working in Labrador in some communities there. I've flown into communities and done restorative justice circles facilitations, and it's very effective. And, we do want to reduce the number of people who are getting charged and going to court that don't need to go to court, that there's other alternatives to this. Because the court system definitely has its place. It has its place for serious crimes. It has its place for, when the harm is at a high level. There are definitely other cases where, we're getting the authority now to do pre-charge referrals. So if we have a case come in that the detachment feels that they can push this to the Restorative Justice Committee, we've got an email address set up. We've got facilitators trained here in Fort McMurray. Almost 20 facilitators trained here. We're working on Fort Chipewyan. Nicole has been up there a number of times with a bunch of our different members and stakeholders, including victim services. And Fort McKay is also interested in this. And so we're trying to expand these programs. We went from just youth to now adult as well. And it's exciting because, that does reduce the number of people charged. It does reduce maybe even the number of people incarcerated that maybe don't need to be. And it also is going to save court time because the courts are busy and they can't be handling every single case that comes in. We're having far too many that have to be thrown out. And the judicial system is on board with this. And when I'm talking, so restorative justice is exciting and it's starting to happen. We're getting referrals coming from our uniform members to the Restorative Justice Committee already. And it's really starting to go. So very excited about that. And that's something that I promised since I first came here. And then now we just had something new that came up, and that's about a drug court. And so if a person is a drug addict and they're committing crimes to feed their habit and probably wouldn't have done that otherwise. And, there's certain cases where they can be referred to a drug court, which gives them a chance to rehabilitate themselves and not have to deal with criminal charges. And there's a whole process that we're working on now. It's brand new here. And it's something that I know that Staff Sergeant Liz McDonald of our plainclothes units, as well as Sergeant Ryan Adlam of the drug section, are working on this, and they're kind of championing this for me. And they've been working with the Crown Attorney's Office here. And there's a couple of pilots that have been going on throughout the province. Red Deer has one, and it's something that now we're getting to come here. So this is great. This is, if someone is committing crimes because of their addiction, then they can get some help and probably not get a criminal record and maybe straighten their life out. So drug court is there. I agree. And besides that, with reducing the numbers of anything, the reducing the number of addicts, we're working with all of our different partners. We're working with, we're trying to reduce the harm in the community overall. And so, I could talk about restorative justice for probably hours. So could Nicole, because we're both proponents of it. But I hope that's kind of a quick answer to you. And yeah, just because we don't have that in our plan doesn't mean that we're not reducing, because we certainly are trying to reduce a lot of areas that, that we can do better in. So, because we can always do better.
Thanks, Mark. And I can just confirm for everyone that, yes, in regards to restorative justice, I will drop the restorative justice email into the chat later for everyone. And if you have further questions on that and how it's going to be promoted throughout our region, feel free to touch base. And because that information is great. And we are working with all of our stakeholders and our social profit agencies to try and find all those mental health supports that we can help everybody with as we try to prevent instead of just incarcerate. Mark, I did just want to jump back to one of the other questions we discussed in regards to the difference between our rural areas and our urban areas. Can you please confirm how the plan differentiates the two? I believe the plan is for overall, but the way we do our investigations, actions, and engagements may differ. Can you just confirm that, please?
Well, the plan is a big plan for the whole area. So you're going to have a number of different objectives that I talked about that we're going to utilize. But if you're breaking it down per community, every community has its own traditions. It has its own little bit of different cultures. And so we do have liaisons in all these communities. And For example, Fort McMurray Métis, they've been great with us. We work with them. We had a smudge here at the detachment. Every community is a little bit different, and Fort Chipewyan is also underneath this this big annual performance plan, but they're doing things in that community that I really like as well. We get the Sergeant Dave Davis up there, who's coaching hockey, I understand, with Chief Peter Powder. So that community involvement, I coach basketball here. That kind of community involvement, I 100% support it, and I want our members to be out there, and I want our members to be known by the public. I don't want faceless policing. I always say it's not a good thing. So if we have an issue in a certain community, Nicole, we have the resources to deal with it. And for example, the break-in enters downtown, we had a lot of different investigations that we were really dealing with at that time, and I was able to shift my team, our teams, over to that, and we were able to solve those quite quickly once we were able to complete a couple other tasks. And the good thing about Wood Buffalo Detachment is that we do have really a lot of great expertise here in different sections that we can use. We have a domestic violence unit, for example. Domestic violence is one of our priorities that came up on one of the higher numbers, but it's not in the plan, but it is in the plan, because we will be, part of it is a unit level quality assurance where we review internally how we're doing things, and we will be looking at our domestic violence files. We have a domestic violence unit here, and there's some other things too that I could probably talk about as other questions come. But Nicole, no, we can definitely get into the specific communities. We have resources here, for example, and we can call upon other resources. Something big happens during the wildfire. We had 1,200 resources come in from all over Canada. Like, I don't know who else could ever possibly do that, right? It's unbelievable. But with what we have here locally in Wood Buffalo, we've got a lot of great teams, including Crime Reduction Unit, Drug Unit, Indigenous Liaison. We've got Alberta Law Enforcement Response Team, which handles some of our more serious crimes, that drugs and organized crime. We've got a general investigation section that's a big unit that handles a lot of our crimes, including sexual assault investigation. We've got a specialized investigative unit that we just started. We got a historical homicide unit that we have going now for some of the older files that aren't solved. And so there's a lot of things going on, but community specific, we can always do that. And, we will continue to do that.
Great, thanks, Mark. And I just want to remind everyone, as we've come just over halfway through our presentation and information session, that if you have any questions, we'd like to hear from you. You can either through Microsoft Teams, go through the Q&A and post your question for our responses, or you can also send a text in at 780-381-5946. Mark, we're going to move on to another question. It kind of rolls right into what we were just talking about. Things have been really difficult over the past few years with COVID-19. Has our crime rate increased recently during this time?
So I've got a whole bunch of stats here with regards to different criminal offenses, and really overall crime rates have not really increased when compared with the previous 3 years. One thing though that has kind of, if I look at the crime stats from 2019, 2020, 2021, and then the start of this year, is I do notice that I'm seeing an increase in mental health calls. So in 2019, we had 784 complaints, and then 946 instances in 2021. So, there's an increase there. And that could be part of COVID, it could be part of ups and downs in the economy, a bunch of different things. But that's why, we established that regional police and crisis team, or the RPAC team. And again, it just started this week, finally. And, we've got our trained nurse and our constable, Goslin, that's involved in that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how that program goes. Constable Goslin was just down at Red Deer studying how they do it down there, because they have a successful program going there. And she brought home some good ideas. And this is a great thing. But looking at the statistics, mental health is up a little bit, which is not surprising after, the wildfire too, the floods, all the rest of this. So it's something that we're working on, and it's a new thing that we have going, and I'm excited about it. I mentioned it already a little bit before. Some of our person crimes have increased slightly, and one that I've noticed is sexual offenses, persons crimes. In 2019, we had 107 reported sexual assault type complaints. In 2020, we had 126, and in 2021, we had 143 reported cases. So person crimes are always the most important crime. So everything else has to take a backseat to someone who's being hurt. And to me, sexual assault is really like a step away from homicide. It's serious stuff. And so we've looked at this as a team here, and that's how we got the specialized investigation unit started, and worked with both Inspector Keith Horwood and Staff Sergeant Liz McDonald on this. And you know, they were dealing with our criminal operations in K Division in Edmonton. And this is kind of something that's on the radar for everyone. And these investigations are important, and now we're getting more expertise in that area. We've also got the Child Advocacy Center here in partnering with Waypoints, and that is a great facility where you can, you know, if you have a family violence situation or a sexual assault, you know, you can go in there. It's more private. Expertise interviewers of children, could be witnesses, right? Child witnesses. And so we're working hard on trying to, you know, deal with persons crimes better. I mentioned the historical homicide unit, and that's also something that's quite new here. You know, major crime takes our homicides and works with our general investigation section and our detachment. But some of these files, you know, have gone a little stagnant over the years, and we're trying to take another look at those, a fresh look at those. So overall property crime is overall down. Overall, but we have had some hot spots like the break-and-enters downtown. And, you know, I guess when you look at the break-and-enters downtown, we put a team on that. And then in February, basically, it pretty much slowed right down. And that was from targeting those individuals, and we were successful with investigations with our crime reduction unit, our general investigation section, our detachment members, and our dog unit. Police dog services. And I'm probably forgetting somebody there, but there's a lot of good work done there. And unfortunately, there was a lot of smash and grabs before we kind of got a hold of that one. And we also followed up on that with information after speaking with the mayor, Sandy Bowman, wanted information packages to all the businesses if they wanted them. And so our community policing section, Corporal Lacey Blair, put together a pretty extensive booklet for all businesses with regards to everything from, you know, video surveillance, security, you know, what's the lighting in front of your place, the location, parking, just all kinds of things that you can do to secure your business a little bit better, even training for people working in there. So, and other things, a lot of different points. So I was really glad, and a lot of businesses accepted those. And so that's working with the community as well. So overall, Nicole, I mean, I've got basically a whole bunch of stats here, but property crime has been pretty steady. But the things I sort of noticed a little bit of spike in is mental health, and I do notice a spike in sexual persons crimes a little bit. The numbers are up a little bit. So those are things that we're keeping an eye on.
Thanks for that information, Mark. And just for everyone else's information, May is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And as Mark mentioned, we do partner with multiple agencies, and you'll be able to find a lot of information in regards to sexual assault and multiple sessions that will be going on through Waypoints. But May also has another really important day that we take respect for. Mark, I want to ask you a question about our missing, murdered, and Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirited people needed to be made a priority with our region. What actions are being taken by the RCMP to support the local Indigenous awareness and solving these cases?
Well, I mean, these are very, very important. And, you know, we do have some unsolved homicides and missing people that we're prioritizing with our, you know, historical homicide unit. It's something that, you know, like we have been successful on some files, but it's something that's near and dear to my heart. it's something that we do have a bit of a history in the past here with this. I guess if you start with missing persons are a priority here in the detachment. If we have a missing persons file, immediately we're trying to get pictures, if we can, of the person. And we're dealing with our media unit here. We do lots of media releases. You'll hear that we're looking for someone in the media quite frequently. And we'll continue to do that. We also have a missing persons unit in Edmonton and K Division that we notify when we have one of these. We do a situational report. It's like a briefing note, and we send those in. They're mandatory for missing people. So that goes to district, Eastern Alberta District down in St. Paul. It also goes to Edmonton K Division and to most of our higher ups in the RCMP. And so, one of my jobs here is to make sure that my officers are on that and that we're getting these out right away and that we're following up as quick as we can. Who they last speak to, family, photos, contacts, locations, other detachments if need be for checking on where they are. And so we've been quite successful in finding people pretty quickly when we do have missing persons. But that's because we're used to this. And, if we have a watch, if we have a turnover from the watch, these are passed on to the next watch. So we also have a thing in the detachment called a daily occurrence report, a DOR, and that basically is passed on from watch to watch because we're 24-hour policing. So, one goes off, they get the DOR. I see them every day, twice a day, in the morning and the night. And that outlines what happened during that shift. And missing persons are on that as well. So it's a passover. There's a file created, and we try our best to find people as quickly as we can. We have high risk files and investigations. We have our general investigation section, so it's our plainclothes investigators, and they get involved in these. And if something, if it's a missing person that's suspicious, we also have, or homicide, we have K Division major crime units. So we have experts that handle only homicides that will come up from Edmonton, and they'll stay here until they have things put together with us. And usually it's a team effort with our general investigation section and those guys when they come up. That's all they do. So, and again, I mentioned about our specialized investigations unit for the sexual assaults and more serious matters, persons crimes. We're also really looking at checking in on our files. So we have a unit level quality assurance on our internal check and balance on investigations this year. We can have ability conducting investigations, and especially sexual assault investigations. So we're going to be looking at those and make sure they're done properly. Same with domestic violence files. They have to be, because that's all linked in the same person's crime stuff here. These are the higher end things. We check on those, 24 hours, 72 hours. We frequently are checking those files to make sure they're done properly. But with a unit level quality assurance, we'll actually, we'll look at the files, a whole bunch of files for the last few months, and make sure that members are doing a good investigation, that they're covering the bases like they're supposed to be. And if they're not, then we let people know what mistakes are being made and work on that. So we've also, the trust of the community is also so important. So with MMIWG and Two-Spirit persons, this is something that we're lucky in that we have Inspector Sarah Drummond here, who came here from Ottawa, and got commissioned to inspector here and stayed here. Luckily for us, because she's very good. And she was on the Missing Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Task Force in Ottawa. So she had traveled all over the country dealing with this, and she's been valuable here. So is Sergeant Martina Noski, so is my whole team. And so is Nicole in Victim Services. They've, for example, we were just invited to Fort Chipewyan, and deep stories told there and shared from the community, and we were welcomed there, which is makes me very happy. So, building trust is important. Reconciliation is important, and for us, to me, reconciliation is us listening and trying to do the right things all the time. So. People have to trust us, right? It's building confidence in policing, in your police. So this is these are all some of the things that come to mind for me.
Thanks, Mark. And actually, as you were discussing that, some really great questions have come in. I'm going to kind of bring them both together because they are about, with your increase in the sexual assault on MMIWG crisis and with the opioid crisis as an ongoing issues. And also, so the question that comes down to, is there opportunities for collaborative partnerships, task force? But Jennifer also would like to know, as one of our online questions, is how can the community help? So what opportunities is there to be collaborative and for the community to help and support?
Well, I mean, you know what? That's a very, very good question, Jennifer. You know, we've got drug activity. Drugs are one of our priorities. You know, we have homeless people. The community's done very well with trying to house a lot of homeless people, but these are some things that come up. MMIWG, the sexual assaults are up. Opioids, you know, I've been asked about that recently, and you know, we have had some sudden deaths. So we do have many stakeholders that we're working with, and I agree, a wraparound service is the way to go here. It seems to me that you know, yes, we do have some opioids, but it seems to me that some other drugs seem to be the drug of choice here, according to discussions with our drug sergeant and with Alert as well. But it is here. And so, you know, we have lots of connections like Street Connect. I talked about Alberta Health Services with regards to our PAC team, and not only the PAC team, but working with them quite frequently. Salvation Army, Living Rough, just had a presentation from them and the stuff that they're doing. The Mr. Wayu Association Friendship Center is another partner. Oh boy, there's so many. Center of Hope, and there's more. But I mean, these groups, we've got a bunch of different committees going on, and you know, I mean, for example, just talking with Sergeant Carolyn Schaffner this afternoon. You know, she's on a committee about transit, and how are those things going? You know, do people feel safe? And things seem to be going quite well right now. But we have committee groups all over the place, and it's very, very important. You know, with the missing, murdered, you know, all of our relationships are important to me, and I think we're getting there. You know, we're getting invited to things. We're trying to do things. We had a beating session in the detachment today, right? It's so that cultural awareness piece is important. Listening is important. Building relationships. A task force. We do have all of these supports that we're kind of working with all the time. Can we do better? Yeah, we can do better. Like, I think we could probably enhance those relationships even more. And you know, the drug court thing, you know, these are people in need, right? So you give them another alternative, and you can have them referred through the drug court to counseling, to addictions, or other stakeholders. You know, restorative justice. You know, you can have a circle there, and you can come up with a contract that someone has to do something, right? So maybe Nicole, we get together, and all contracts are different, but certainly these people get on board with what we're doing with restorative justice as well. So I think there's a ton of opportunity here for us, and you know, our drug teams too, with education as well. So I mean, this is a very good question, because you know what, the sexual assaults too, like everything is kind of tied in, right? And it's getting a lot of people the help that they need, so they don't go down that road of being a criminal. So or losing their life, so or being hurt. So yeah, I love the question, and definitely open to continue those relationships, and maybe we can do more.
Thanks for that, Mark. And I'm just going to put a little more information out there for our community. We have a multitude of agencies that we are stakeholders and have relationships with, including our Waypoint, St. Aidan's. There is actually the Wood Buffalo Family Violence Coordinating Council. I will also post their link to their website that has all the agencies that are truly working towards ending domestic violence and sexual assaults within our region. And they're a great partner with all of us. Mark, could you just answer one more question for clarity? Because do the RCMP, and is there anything like community watches or neighborhood watches anymore that is supported through those kind of programs, or Rural Watch?
Oh, absolutely. I have to be honest with you, though, I haven't seen a lot of that, Nicole. In other places I've been, we've had everything from Citizens on Patrol to this, and certainly, our community policing section, if anyone was interested in talking about that, they have all kinds of information that they could sit down with people and give them a hand in setting those things up. And again, I've said before, with regards to drugs or property crime or any of these things, we're only as good as the information we get from our community. We don't have crystal ball. We're not mind readers. Crime Stoppers is another way that we can gather information. If someone tells me that there's a situation going on somewhere, there's lots of things that we can do to keep an eye on it. We can do surveillance. There's lots of investigative techniques that we can do, but we need to know that there's an issue. And so, that whole community participation, community involvement, and communication with the police, the community has to be able to trust us, right? And that's what it gets down to in order to deal with these situations.
Thank you, Mark. And I bet you're not going to believe this, but we've come to the end of our hour. I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, as our time here is becoming to a close. But if you want to keep connecting, if you have more questions, please send them to participate@rmwb.ca. That's participate@rmwb.ca. If you're looking for more information or would like references from this evening presentation, we encourage you to visit us online. Another reminder regarding the current community policing engagement, Ask a Cop question. This engagement encourages stronger built relationships with our residents and our youth throughout the Wood Buffalo region. We're currently offering and doing this resident in our rural communities, and they can ask their questions online at the participate.rmwb.ca/community policing, the same place you found the link for today's event. Urban residents will have the same opportunity later this fall, and the deadline for our rural communities is to provide their feedback is May 10th. The questions at a later date will be discussed for each rural community through a virtual panel discussion. And we have a great opportunity for our rural students to be one of the community influencers as they through grades 7 and 8, and they will be the ones actually asking the questions live with our community. Chosen influencers from each community will co-host a live virtual panel discussions in their community and win a pizza party from the Wood Buffalo RCMP, and the RCMP will also participate in their party. More information can be found online at participate.rmwb/community policing. To stay up to date regarding community policing, we encourage you to subscribe to the page. And I just again want to thank you for joining us this evening. And this concludes our time together, but I want to thank you and take care.